Well, hello and welcome back to the channel. Mr. Pelargonium here, or David Taylor if you want to call me something more conventional. I thought we'd have a little look on my greenhouse now because it's a bright and breezy day today after following yet another storm, Storm Jocelyn, which I think was the latest one that came around. I'm filming this on the 24th of January and it's clear now from this bright day, which I can really judge now, that the days are getting a little bit lighter. We're well over now a month past the shortest day in the northern hemisphere. So, you know, the light levels are changing. We've gained about an hour's daylight, I would say, since the shortest day. So I'm hopeful that things will just start to show a little bit more of a denser coloured green in the next week or two as we sort of get towards and into February. Um, Excuse the wind, by the way, because obviously at this time of year, we've got the remnants of this just Jocelyn, not this time of year, but this time of just after a storm. So I thought we'd have just a little look round, give you an idea of some of the things that I'm going to be getting up to once we sort of get into February. And one of the things that I will be doing is doing a little bit of potting up. I've not done much in the way of potting up in over the winter. I always let my plants sort of rest. We've got some quite small potted plants there, which will need potting on. This is grown on. I'm growing this as a standard, hopefully. But it's clear that that needs a pot on, that needs to grow, because the regals, centids and those types of plants will of course be growing, well, they have grown over the winter, and they will, some of these will need to be potted on now to enable them to sort of grow on through the spring. Of course, one of the things with regals, of course, is that they will now start, once they notice the light change, and here's one that's already maybe beginning to look to have a flower coming on it, is that as soon as that light starts getting a little bit intense, they will start to throw bloom. The regals will. That's, you know, how it works. They're very reactive to light changes, and as soon as that spring light starts to hit, they will start to throw flower stem. And in this case, this is a Marie Rudlin. I just checked, and it's quite a nice standard plant of mine that's grown up. That is obviously going to be one of the early ones to start throwing some flower stems. So certainly any regals that I've got that I'm wanting to get as standards, I'm wanting to realistically get them potted up just to try and stop them from, having too tight a root ball so that all they want to do is throw bloom. But the larger ones I'm not too bothered with at all, like this one here that we just saw. So because that's really at the height that I'm wanting it. So not too worried about that throwing some bloom. Not been stocked for show, far too young for a show plant. So that's what I'm going to be doing over the next week or two. Anything that's relatively young will be potted up if the pots are small, just to enable them to begin to grow as the spring grows through. What else have we got? Now, we have had one or two casualties over the back there. You can see here I've got a couple of regal seedlings. These were from some breeding I did with the plant Doris Shaw, and they were right at the edge of the glass there, and with my heater right over here, they may have got frosted, but they are also quite wet, and I'm wondering if I've just overwatered them, because I've got a couple of others next to them and they're fine. And also that tall standard at the back there, which runs all the way down to here. That is fine as well. So I think it's more a case that I've overwatered them. Now, they're in quite a sunny spot now at this time of year, getting quite a bit of sun over this part of the glasshouse in the afternoon, filming this in the early afternoon. And I'm hopeful that they will dry out and survive. But if they don't, they don't. It's just one of those things, can't be helped. But there we are. That's one of those sort of lessons. We have had an awful winter. It's been so wet, storm after storm. I mean, we've had two big, heavy rainstorms with lots of wind. Just in the last 4 days, we've had two really big ones. But yeah, so yeah, we've got lots of stuff just sort of in a way just beginning to sort of think of turning colour and noticing the change in the light. As I say, we've gained about an hour since the shortest day, so that's going to make a bit of a difference. Now, this is my standard of stat burn. One dead leaf on it there, which I need to get off. I'm just letting that flower. Now, with the show, the National Pelargonium Show in the UK this year, that's being held on the 22nd of June, we have a slightly later sort of stopping time for the zonals. Everybody knows that I've done my regals. They are all sort of over here, showing a little bit of sign of just breaking through. You can just see the stops that I've done on that particular one. And you can see all the little buds, stem buds, just breaking through on the stops that I've done on that one there. So that's quite heartening. They're growing well. But the others, the zonals here, these will be stopped. I will probably do these at 19 or 20 weeks. Generally, you say it's about 18 weeks for zonals. I don't have the same issue with zonals as I do regals, where I have to do them very early. Zonals are more or less the same for me, but I will stop these at about 20 weeks, which I think is in the next week or two. So they will need stopping down then. Again, there are signs that the green on these is just beginning to darken, which means that they are just beginning to notice that there is a slight change in the daylight time. So that's good. It's good to know, and it's clear that they're going to get their stop in the next week or two. 20 weeks, I think it is. If not next weekend, the weekend after, because we've got as I said, I've got a marginally later show this year, so it will be the normal 18 weeks is going to be around about the middle of February. Now, I've got, just rather bizarrely, we can see here, I've actually got a bit of bloom coming through. We saw the stat burn bloom. This is one called Rushmore Spotted Shrimp. This is my big zonal standard that I've had here for a couple of years. It was in the show last year as well. But I particularly like this one. Does very well for me. There is a little bit of a fight to get the dark coloured sort of reverted blooms, what we call reverted down to solid colour. But I did take, as everybody knows, I did take a couple of shoots from the dark colour, and I've got two standards there. If I look at my finger, if I make sure I focus, which it isn't doing at the moment, I've got two standards, one there and one there, of the solid colour version of that, because it clearly does very well for me. So they're still to come through and grow into hopefully something this size. But yeah, I quite like the spots and splashes on these. But yeah, these blooms have literally just come up in the last couple of weeks at most. So yeah, I'm hopeful that they are beginning to notice the change in the amount of daylight that we're getting. And I've no doubt wherever you may be, if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, it won't be long before your plants do start to say, oh, hello, things are beginning to change, and are we going to start thinking about growing again? So there we are. I thought I would just do a little video just saying that there is going to be a few things going on. Constantly sort of still tidying up. Got one or two dead leaves here and there. Here's an example of some dead leaves. I just need to knock off that one. This is another one of my standards. I think this is one called Lancastrian big zonal plant. My huge grey ivy leaf pot that I've got here, let's throw in a little bit of bloom as well. Oh, this is Harvard. Yeah, it's quite a common one. Harvard, big strong grower though, huge plant, but that's done fairly well. The odd dead leaf on it. It's not suffered at all though during the winter. And that's potentially going to look really good this coming summer, because as long as I keep it very well fed, that should be enormous this coming summer. So there we are. I think that's just about it. I thought I'd give you just a little look round my glass house as we go into this sort of last week of January, showing that there is going to be work needed as we tip over into February. So there's going to be plenty going on. So hopefully I can share that with you over the coming weeks. So that's it from me. Bye-bye for now.